Welcome back to the Vancouver Special Podcast, where we talk about,
5.
Is it 5 already?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about real estate in the city and how it connects to our social and interpersonal lives. We're sitting here heading towards the end of August. And it's been I don't know if you found it this way, but I find like the weeks are just going by so quickly.
Time is flying.
Yeah.
I feel like July just like I blinked and it was over.
It's crazy. The way that I tell that time is flying is every Friday. I don't know if you follow, I'm going to give a shout out here, C-Bus memes.
Yeah.
So every Friday I'm like, oh, C-Bus memes. I'm like, again? Like they're the best memes out there.
You're
but
like,
I'm
I swear I just saw this yesterday.
Yeah. I'm like, he just posted though. And that's how I'm basically, I don't use a calendar anymore. I use like this guy's account to like figure out.
That's your landmark for time.
And that's how I know my work week is starting over the weekend. I'm like, when I see the memes.
Yeah.
But excellent account. You should follow it.
Yeah.
But yeah, how's your summer been in general?
It's been good. I mean, like staying local. I figured enjoying Vancouver when the weather is enviable is the best. So yeah, just like stayed local. I went camping.
Yeah.
For the first time in a very long time. If you know me personally, I don't camp.
I think camping's the worst, personally.
It's so the worst.
Yeah.
But Salt Spring Island with a bunch of my girlfriends, and
nice.
I was very spoiled. Like they set everything up. I literally just had to bring a pillow and my clothes.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we were right by the water. It was beautiful. Like a nice couple days to be logged off because there was zero cell reception on that island.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel? Like, did you feel like any sort of like anxiety for not having?
Not gonna lie, it made me so anxious.
Yeah.
And I'm on a team, and even though I'm like, hey guys, I'm gonna be away, like limited cell service, I still felt really guilty for not being able to like monitor what was going on.
Yeah.
And so that was. I discovered that about myself, that was something that I got to deal with.
Yeah. No, I feel that too.
Do you
like
get that?
I'm like, if I don't have I always have my phone on me, but if I ever even think to like leave it.
Well, and you have the Apple Watch.
I have the Apple Watch. Like if I go even for like a massage, for like an hour and a half, like 90-minute massage, I feel like a little bit like, wow, disconnected. This is crazy. Yeah. I think I'm going to try and do it more often though.
Yes.
Like if I go for a walk or something for like 30 minutes, that's
like
okay,
leave the
right?
phone.
Leave the phone at home.
Yeah.
Maybe even take the Apple Watch off or whatever.
But then you won't log your steps.
That's a problem. And that's a problem, actually. That is the worst is when you actually go, you start doing exercise, you didn't turn it on. You're like, I shouldn't even do this anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm just going to go back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But no, I'm glad you're having a chill work summer probably. I know
work-wise, it's been stressful.
Good, right?
Like personal life has been I'm hanging in there.
We're going to dig into that today.
Yeah. I think we talked about this last time where I was mentioning the environment right now is like people aren't leaving the table happy. Buyers are still feeling like they're overpaying. Sellers are still feeling like they're selling at too big of a loss.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of back end mental gymnastics that I've been doing with a lot of my clients.
Yeah.
Have you felt that?
I feel like, like I've been working with a few buyers over the last month. And I would say right now, especially if you have like buyers in the condo segment, I'm loving it. Like,
oh, it's great.
It's so awesome. So basically what's happening in the condo market right now, a lot of new building completions, a lot of competing units, a lot of sellers that are just like, I need to get rid of these properties, competing against so many other people. So, working with buyers right now that are looking for condos, I truly think that's where like the big opportunity is right now. So in those scenarios, it's so much fun because like we'll go to one building, we'll view 5 units in like 30 minutes, right? And we'll get an idea. And then the client will say, I like these 2. And then I'll just negotiate with the 2 and see who's willing to go the lowest.
Yes.
And literally sometimes the other realtor is just like, what's it going to take? Like, I've had this listing for 70 days. Like, my seller needs to sell it. And so I've been fortunate in that sense. On the listing side, like I finally sold that Olympic Village listing I had, which you brought clients to. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but it took almost 90 days, finagling with the price and the marketing and doing all these different things, trying to bring people back. Selling strata right now, I think is tricky. And you're right. It comes down to, what's the seller expectation? Do they really want to make a move, right? That ultimately dictates whether you're actually going to sell. And even if you do want to make a move and you really want to sell, if you're in an area where there's a lot of inventory, it's still going to be a bit of a struggle. I think it changes.
Yeah. But I feel like everywhere now is catching up to the surplus of inventory. Because I want to say even a month and a half ago, it was certain pockets that had that bonus inventory going around. But now I feel like across the board, everybody's kind of seeing that in the strata space.
Yeah. And I think you probably do a lot more in van. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, I do a bunch in van, but then I'm also like Burnaby, Coquitlam, New West as well.
I've been hanging out in Coquitlam a lot lately.
Have you? What do you think? It's a beautiful place.
Well, I grew up in Coquitlam, so I'm a little biased.
Did. Okay. Crystal Falls. Is that in Coquitlam? It is, right?
I have no idea.
You don't know what Crystal Falls is?
No.
Apparently it's well, I've been there once.
If it's in like, a mountain and it requires you to hike.
It does.
No.
Both. But there's a nice waterfall. I don't know. That's not the only thing I know about Coquitlam, but also the Crunch.
Oh, yes.
Which I've never done.
Love it.
Never will do.
Grouse grind, never ever. Crunch, any day.
So Crunch is doable?
Yeah.
For a guy like me?
Oh, yeah. Like I do it with my parents all the time.
Okay. Yeah. I'll give it a shot.
And they're like, we can do this.
But I see people posting on Instagram and I just see a bunch of steps and I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to do this.
It's only like 350 steps.
But is it nice? Like, do you actually, is it gratifying when you get to the top of a stairwell?
No.
Albeit outside? No, right? Okay, good. That's what I thought. And that's what I thought because I was like, what's the
I'm not doing it for the views. Like people go on hikes for the views,
I do everything for the views.
For the gram?
Every single thing. Every single thing I do.
Yeah, no, I'm like 45 minutes up and down. It's a good cardio workout that's not that boring.
Right.
And it's really close to where I grew up. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So you've been working out that way?
Yeah, doing a lot out there. A lot of things are driven by buyer budget.
Yeah.
And a lot friendlier home buyer prices in Coquitlam, first-time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, seeing a lot of inventory and same thing, like seeing 5 units on the first tour and then coming back 3 weeks later and those 5 units are still there.
Right.
And so my clients are going through choice paralysis.
Yeah.
Where like they'll talk themselves in circles on whether or not they should write on this one or this one, or they can't decide between their top 3.
Right.
And then it's almost like they're looking to me to tell them what to do, but I never want to tell somebody what to do.
We can only guide.
Exactly. And like my spiel, like when I do a buyer's meeting is my job is to give you all the information you need so you can make the right decisions.
Right. Yeah.
I don't tell them, I'm like, I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So it's very a fine line to tread.
Well, when they're like, what would you do, Michelle?
Yeah.
Which one would you buy?
Oh, when they tell me that, and I'm like, oh yeah, the 2-bedroom in Coquitlam all day long.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh, but we like Brentwood. I'm like, well, there you go. You just answered your own question.
Yeah. So I want to dive deeper in this because we've been texting back and forth. You've had like sounds like you've had a stressful last few weeks dealing in difficult situations. So, part of this episode, we're going to talk about some of our difficult situations, some of the things that are just difficult in our career that you may not even realize. So tell me about your last few, tell me what's going on in your world that's been so difficult.
Yeah. Specifically, I texted Hasan, I've been on the brink of tears for the last 2.5 weeks.
I didn't want to out you like that, but yeah, exactly. Those were the specific words and in caps lock.
Yeah, verbatim.
Yeah.
It's just been a lot because dealing with my clients and all their emotional needs, I need to be there for them, be the rock and be steady and guide them and be able to calm them down, but also not give them 24-hour access to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's tough because sometimes off the cuff, I'll answer back at 11:30 p.m.
You open that door. You're like me.
And then it's just like a black hole. And then they expect that anytime they message me that I'm going to answer them right away.
Yeah.
And then so obviously I'm like, okay, I know I set this precedent and I did it to myself and I want to maintain that level of service. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm neglecting everything else that I'm supposed to do personally.
Yeah.
And then so that's really tough. And I think the culmination of it is the last 2 months, all of my deals have been like that.
Right.
Just because there's so much hand holding and setting expectations, massaging expectations, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just piled on.
Yeah. Well, I think like, I don't know if you find this, because I do the same thing, but I find like during the day and into the evenings, we're behind the wheel so often. And it's like we get home, we eat dinner, and then sometimes like the best time to be messaging with clients is that evening time.
Yeah,
9,
like
10,
they've
11
put
o'clock.
kids to bed, they're done dinner, they're winding down, like their brain is in the right space.
But
also,
even for ourselves, like that's our moment to be like, I don't have to drive. I'm not in a showing right now.
Yeah.
Now's our time to communicate and strategize. And it's like, you know, you can see how like our profession and a lot of professions out there, it takes the full clock to be able to get everything done in the day, right? Unless, of course, you have team and assistant or whatever it might be, that might take some time away from you. But in order to communicate with clients, it's like, it's kind of always like evening.
Yeah, but
right?
even with the team and like the administrative help, like I love our admin team. Like I would be lost without them.
Yeah.
But even then, that's exactly it. Building the rapport with your clients and being able to strategize and have those conversations with them, pull out those answers that you've been looking for, requires you and only you. Like nobody else can do that.
Yeah.
Because you're the one with a relationship with them, regardless of whether or not you have the support.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
what's your like, do you have a go-to for like when you're feeling stressed? Like how do you deal with the stress? Like
my day-to-day is going to the gym.
Okay.
Like I go to the gym 6 days a week.
Nice.
Yeah, at the new fancy gym at the LTF.
Oh, is that the new one in Van or whatever?
Where all the realtors go?
About?
Yeah.
Did they all shift from Equinox?
I think so.
Oh my goodness.
And you know why? What sold me?
No loyalty in
free
this business. Oh, okay.
That's what sold me.
Oh, the free parking. That's huge.
Yeah, I joke that I see more agents at the gym than I do at the office.
Yeah.
Like 11:30 a.m. like walk in. It's like guaranteed I'm seeing at least one other agent.
You
from
missed
the
the 5 a.m. club. There's probably like
all of them.
75%. Yeah, all the agents
all
are there
of them.
at 5.
But yeah, for me, it's the gym. And so I try and fit that in when I can. Usually it's evenings.
Yeah.
Because that's like after things have kind of died down. And I'm trying to establish that boundary of like not really answering my phone after 8:30.
Ooh. You should try going into, what's that mode that everyone does on Instagram or...
Do not disturb?
Not do not disturb. Quiet mode, is it? Where you send someone a DM and it says, this is not notifying them, they're in quiet mode, and then you can hit another button if you just want to annoy them and send it anyways.
Notify anyway.
What is it? I think it's like quiet mode or something like that. I want to do
on
that
Instagram, it's quiet mode.
after a certain time.
Yeah.
I wish I was like you that... So I go to the gym frequently, but... I wish that going to the gym was my stress release. What I find for me is like when I have a lot of things in my mind, I don't often feel very stressed, to be honest. I'm pretty like just chill. But when I have a lot of things on my mind, if I go to the gym, I find I don't have as good of a workout as I would if I'm clear-headed.
Right.
So I close a deal, say the night before. The next morning, I'm having the best workout of my month.
You're like zoned
I'm zoned. I'm dialed. I'm feeling on top of the world.
Yeah.
But if I have all these things going on, I'll go to the gym and I'm like working in my head, but working out. So I'm kind of half-assing the workout.
Right.
Right. I'm not really like pushing.
Right.
And I envy people that are like, no, I work out and that gets rid of my stress.
Yeah.
Because that's such a beautiful thing. But it's not where I'm at. Like I need to have positivity and then I'll crush a workout. So it's good that you have that.
For me, it's like the ritual of going. So I go with a couple of my girlfriends, and so it's a little bit of a social thing too. And then we do have the sauna steam room situation.
Oh, okay.
After,
okay.
so that's when I do my thinking.
Gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do like a 45-minute workout and then be in the steam room for half an hour. No, but that's where I do a lot of my thinking, where it's like all these thoughts that I'm trying to put to bed before I go to bed.
Yeah, because you got to get them out.
Oh,
somehow, right?
Or else I'm staring at the ceiling all night long.
Yeah. I find for me, it's like when I do feel stressed or challenged, or I need to like work through situations. For me, it's like going on walks. It's like super boring and dull, but like I live right at the river, so for me, it's like if I'm trying to strategize or something like that, I'll take like a 30-minute break. I'll go for a walk. If I have a bad deal or I have some sort of stress, I'm not feeling it, I allow myself that 30 minutes to like, be a little bee or whatever, like go for a walk, just whatever. But when you get back, by that time, you have to be back on the horse and kind of ready to go. So I think that's like for me, stress relief, I'm not like a stress eater or anything like that. I do like sugar in the evenings though.
I'm a stress shopper.
Are you really? What are you shopping for these days?
Just anything that's like a deal. I'm like, that adrenaline rush and the endorphins
for like
when I'm
2
like,
seconds.
oh my God, 40% off. Buy. That kind of thing. And then it arrives and I'm like, oh, this wore off. Return. Like,
it feels good to get the package, and the package part's great, right? Like opening it up or whatever.
Or sometimes like I'll go through a really bad go of like ordering things, and things will arrive and I don't remember what I bought. And then it's like Christmas every other day.
Yeah. That's
and then I'm
good.
like, why did I order this? And I end up returning all of it.
Oh, wow. So you get the good feeling. Well, you know what? Returning is not a negative feeling. Right? So
no,
you get
it's
that,
not.
You get the dopamine.
Yeah,
you get the gift. You're like, okay, whatever.
It's not very environmentally friendly though.
Oh, that's true. Amazon will send you like something like this in a box like that, right?
Yeah.
I keep shouting out brands and stuff like I love
like
you all.
We're sponsored.
Yeah,
exactly.
Wait, are they sponsored? No, they're not sponsoring us.
No,
not yet.
No.
But yeah, no, that's crazy. So for me, like that's kind of the stress release. I think like the summer has been good. Honestly, it's been really busy for me the last month. Things are picking up into
July
September.
was busy.
Dude, it's crazy. I think I've had like my busiest stretch of the year in the last like 6 weeks to 2 months. I think like I was talking with a couple other agents as well. Like one of the things that I find in this career that maybe people don't realize, even when you're doing a lot of deals, you're being very active, is like as a solopreneur. So I don't work on a team. I just
solopreneur.
Like
that.
Sounds good and it's fun. Like I don't, I'm meeting people, etc. But I think a lot of people don't realize like how isolating.
Oh yeah,
this career can be. Like I find
lonely.
At times, I'm like, it's kind of crazy. I did a video a couple months back. It was kind of facetious. The video it was kind of facetious, but there was an actual message behind it. And I was basically saying that I felt that promiscuous people made the best realtors. And the reason I was saying that, not necessarily people that sleep around make great agents. They might. I don't know, like they might. But what I was trying to say is that, our whole career as real estate agents is to enter highly emotional, short-term relationships with people that we're communicating with at all hours of the day.
Yes.
Like you mentioned. And you have to be able to do that with multiple people at the same time. Usually lasts about 3 months. And yes, you're going to retain that client if you do a good job, but then you kind of break up.
Yeah.
Right? And you're not talking every night anymore.
No.
And it's not like this back and forth.
Yep.
And so I was kind of just saying that if you're good at short-term relationships, passionate, whatever you want to call it, that this is kind of the business for you. And people that are like serial monogamous or like long-term relationship people, it can be a little bit challenging. But we go around from like showing to this client to this pre-sale event to whatever it might be. And sometimes I'll come home at night, I'll get home and I'll be like, did I even connect with anyone today?
Yeah.
The connection piece I think is missing just in general.
Yeah.
Right now
My brain
and then.
is always so loud, like just the millions of different little file folders that are in my brain for all the different things that go into our industry. Like,
and even probably just life.
Yeah.
Because I think we forget like real estate is our career, but then there's life outside of it.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just trying to like get stuff done. People are going to work and then they're coming home and they're looking at their bank account and they're like, how am I going to pay this bill and all of these things? And then they can't emotionally, there's no emotional currency left to be able to connect with people.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm
there's like
noticing out
no
there.
more space to process.
Nothing there.
And I was actually thinking about this yesterday, where when I'm super busy running around like a headless chicken, I will put social things in my calendar to meet with my friends and family to kind of like recharge my batteries because like I need it.
Yeah.
But then I have noticed lately, and maybe this is also why I've been feeling so overwhelmed, where my brain is just so noisy that even when I'm with my support system, I'm not present, like mentally. I'm like going through the motions. So then it's not actually fulfilling my like need to be like, I want to feel this genuine connection with people without trying, without having to be like, let me see if I can sign this person or like get this listing or meet this new whoever, make this new connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I end up feeling more burnt out after, because then I'm like, oh, now I'm going home at 11 p.m. and I have to send like 4 emails and I have to nag this other agent for this showing request and blah, 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 like all these other things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm like, no, I really need to be more present.
Yeah. I was, I was talking with someone the other day, and she said the coolest thing to me, or like gave me a system, because I was talking about this. I was like, look, like I meet all these people, like even on social media, like, we have this huge circle of acquaintances, right? That we're talking to, even people we maybe haven't met, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I feel so isolated a lot of the times. And she's like, what I do is that in my calendar, I color code the different types of activities. So work will be blue, social will be yellow, health will be green. And so everything that she puts in the calendar, she puts it with a certain color. And then when she looks at her monthly view of the calendar, she says, if I have too much green, I know I need to add some yellow. If I have too much yellow, I need to add some blue. I need more work. And she told me that, and my mind was just blown, because like, I mean, we probably just plug in the meetings, right? And so I was like, this is something I'm going to take away. And because my whole thing was like, I need more balance in my life. And she's like, well, the only way to know whether you're balanced is to lay it out like that. Right?
And I'm totally a visual person, so that would totally click for me, I feel like.
Yeah. So I thought that was like such a cool thing. Yeah. But yeah, so if you're thinking of being a realtor, or you are a realtor, and you think it's going to be this like crazy social, like you're just going to make all these deep connections
shaking hands
with people,
and kissing babies.
It's not. Not really. I mean, I'm sure there's some agents that do live in that world, but I think also because I recharge my batteries away from the crowd.
Yeah.
That probably has a lot to do with it. Like, a lot of people will close a deal, they'll celebrate a win, they'll go out with a bunch of people, they'll go have drinks, whatever it is. Like my whole thing about like celebrating a deal is like, I'll go for a hike, right? Like just to get that kind of energy out or whatever. Yeah. So I think it's just like shifting patterns, but this career definitely has the ability to just be all consuming if you let it, if you want it to, right?
Yeah. And that's with most entrepreneurs. I feel like you're wearing so many different hats. Mm-hmm. And I do think, especially for realtors, especially those not on a team, it is very lonely, because I don't know about you, but I also find that sometimes I'm not having a good day. I might like make an error, like a typo or something like that, or I'll like not send the right email at the right time. Yeah. And then it snowballs, because then I end up questioning myself and like questioning my decision making and my judgment, and then I make more mistakes, and then it just snowballs, and then I literally have to like hit the brakes, pause, and do like some grounding exercises. Like go touch some grass,
and probably like stop being hard on your I don't know if you're that way, but like if I make a mistake, sometimes my self-talk is not good. And I was talking to someone else the other day, and they're like because I was saying I'm pretty hard on myself, like if I don't get a win or whatever, I'm hard on myself. And they're like, never talk to yourself in a way that you wouldn't talk to other people. Like you would never talk to a friend in a certain way, but then the things you say about yourself, like would you ever say that to a family member, a friend, or someone you don't know? You never would. And it's like, I think also like getting away from that sort of self-talk, because obviously like on social media or whatever, you see a lot of our wins, but not everyone is posting every time you lose on an offer, or client chooses to sign with somebody else, or whatever it might be, which happens a lot. What do you think? So shifting it away kind of from realtors, how have your like outside of real estate, like how are your clients doing right now with like cost of living in Vancouver? Are you noticing like any sort of issues that they are having, that they're facing? Because obviously one of the things I find with the career we're in, they say, realtors are also counselors. We get to have like really personal conversations with a lot of different people, right?
Yeah. A lot of my clients who are first-time home buyers, once they've committed to the decision that they're going to work towards buying a house, I find that they're really, really strict with their saving budget for down payments. Mm-hmm. But they're squeezing every dollar out of every other aspect of their life. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, yeah, I'm only like grocery shopping like once every 2 weeks now, and I'm like stretching that out. And I'm adjusting, and I'm not eating out as much, and I'm doing a no buy month where they don't buy anything.
Oh wow.
And I learned about this Facebook group called Buy Nothing, and like it's basically a trading post for like your neighborhood. But anyway.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
anything under the sun goes up there. I've heard people put like half-used salad dressing on there.
Really?
I don't know if I would go that route, but just like these different things where people are getting creative of once they've committed to the goal of buying a home, they're like, okay, I'm going to dial everything back, but they're definitely feeling it.
Yeah.
And like they're not going on vacation, so they're working more, so they're feeling more burnt out.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like they're not doing anything for themselves anymore. And I'm like, look, I would love for you to buy a house and reach that goal and cross that off your checklist, but I don't want you to be unhappy.
Yeah.
Like,
because
because
there's got to be a balance.
if you're like miserable for the 3 to 5 years or whatever it took you to save up for that home, like, I feel like that's going to be some PTSD. Like when you finally buy that place and you're going to be like, wow, remember when I was eating ramen noodles for 3 years straight?
Yeah.
So I could buy this place.
Totally.
Yeah. So I'm like, let's not do that.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like also like on the scaling back on vacations, for example, like I think about families that I talk to and, obviously here in BC, we've had short-term rental restrictions, Airbnb restrictions, etc. I was reading an article now, Kelowna tourism down 50% this summer. I've been chatting with business owners downtown, and a lot of businesses are down revenue-wise.
Is that because of the Airbnb thing, or people just aren't traveling?
In Kelowna, they're saying that they believe a large chunk of it has to do with the Airbnb thing. And ultimately what happens is when there's less supply of rooms, obviously the prices go up. Everything is attached together, right? So when everything goes up, inflation, cost of living, things, what families are able to do shrinks, right? And so if accommodation is a little bit higher and so is everything else, then that's what's keeping people away from even those BC vacations. Like I think for families, that the fortunate families that can go to like places like Hawaii, etc., when people tighten up, they start to think, okay, well, I'm going to do something local.
Yeah, because road trip is more approachable. Everybody fits in the car. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's looking like that has now shrunk. The people that would generally go to the Okanagan because of that cost. And so, we're seeing it here. We're seeing it in Vancouver for sure. I think that the short-term rental restrictions do have a part in it. It's not obviously everything. And I feel like we're going to feel the significant effects of this next year when these businesses are like, okay, the money that I was supposed to make over the summer, I didn't make it.
Right.
That's what keeps me going until this June.
Right.
And so now we're going to have to cut some staff. Some of them for sure are going to have to close down. I did a video about this and I had someone comment from Alberta and they were like, yeah, we would usually go to BC for our vacations, but now they're like, we can pay a few grand more and go to Hawaii. Like that's how much of a difference it has been.
I'd rather go to Hawaii.
Right? So, I think kind of all of these implications, I hate to sound like doom and gloom, but we just spent a couple years with significantly high interest rates that you don't feel in the economy. It takes a year or two until you feel it. Now we're really feeling it. We're behind the 8 ball. The cuts are going to come, but they're going to come too late. And I'm kind of nervous about just the overall picture outside of housing, but just the overall picture on how Canadians are going to be affected next year. I was reading the article where in Canada, they did a survey. 52% of Canadians responded and said they believe their financial situation right now is poor or very poor, right? Over half of Canadians, and that number is actually even higher in BC. And I know with like, I can just tell like with the content that I post, there's a lot more negative comments now. There's a lot of people that are just super frustrated with, where we are, as a country, as a province, and kind of their own situations. And I don't think it gets a lot better in the near term.
No, and I agree with you. I don't think we are even, we're kind of in it, but the effects of the inflation and the recession.
Yeah.
We are hardly scratching the surface. I feel like people have been maybe utilizing their savings or like tapping into other resources, but I think in the coming months or maybe the next year, we're really going to start seeing people go, okay, I've exhausted all my resources. Now what?
Yeah.
And that's going to affect a lot. I mean, in where I live, there have been a bunch of new businesses that have been opening. And so every time something new pops up, I'm like, yay.
Yeah.
But I'm like, God, I hope you last for more than a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like these small mom and pop businesses that do keep the economy going because they keep that wheel turning.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's one less person going to the big conglomerate oligopolies that will dictate the prices of food. Like
that'll one day literally be our only option. Like,
I know.
especially when I look in the food business, like I want you guys to be successful, like these new restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, these big monsters, they're just going to take over I think the entire food business. One thing we didn't talk about is next year, the most significant amount of mortgage renewals we've seen in like decades, pretty much. All of the pandemic buyers
the 2020
are renewing.
people.
Yeah, they're all renewing. And so, you know, ultimately what's going to happen is they will renew. Like, we're not going to end up in a situation where everyone's going to forego the roof over their heads. They're going to find a way. The bank's going to extend the amortization. The payments are going to be higher, but people are going to scale back everywhere else.
Yep.
And that's where we really feel it, where everyone's tightening up, like the vacations, anything that's discretionary, your Amazon spending.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get this in line. Yeah, we gotta get this in line. But yeah, like that's kind of where we're gonna see, I think, a big shift in this economy. And when it comes to a real estate perspective, yeah, we'll probably see a lot more investment units, you know, hit the market as we've already seen. Not a ton of people, you know, like wanting to be landlords unless they want to buy something and pass it down. But I think that's gonna be challenging. You know, time. Are you finding on the buyer side, like, are you working with more investors or end users, or how's that kind of
end users?
Yeah.
And I feel like majority of the people right now, even if they do have cash to spend, they're like, I'm gonna just hold on to this for a little bit longer and see what happens, or put it elsewhere, just because the numbers are already so tight. And then with all the new rules for like selling a tenanted property and all these other things, just throws another layer to it that people are like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So end users.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm finding like end users, for the most part, most end users are like, for me, are like, okay, I want to buy something. I'm going to live in it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Maybe rent it out in the future. The thing about renting it out is the people that I'm finding are doing it a lot are kind of people that are buying real estate for future generations.
Right.
I think that's kind of like the segment now where it still makes sense to buy a rental property in BC because you want your child to actually move into this property at some point. So I'm finding that's kind of, you know, from the investment side of things, that's kind of the buyer. Or like, and you probably have people like this, like buyers that are just like, you know, send me distressed deals, right? Send me people that are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the reality is there's not a ton.
They're super rare.
Yeah, there's not a ton out there like that. Like there are in certain pockets, but everyone has a limit in terms of what they're willing to lose before putting a tenant in and just like riding it out and seeing what happens in a year or two. But yeah, like outside of the distressed deals, investors, some stuff on the commercial side, pretty much end users. I think the next pocket of time until the end of the year, probably one of the best opportunities for a first-time buyer to get into the market.
Oh, 1,000%. It started in June. Like, I even want to say the numbers that we're seeing are comparable to like 2021. Yeah. And that was the biggest jump since 2018 in pricing. And like ideal location, newer, like I have clients who were priced out and had to go further east. And now within their price point, it's like, okay, we might be getting something smaller, but it's in your dream location.
Yeah, which is very important.
Yeah, so a lot of them are kind of shifting back to that, which is great. And yeah, timeline-wise, no pressure as far as like, you got to decide now how much over asking you want to offer because there's 10 other people banging down the door. Yeah. It's like, nope, yeah, you want to see it again 3 weeks later? No problem. Hey, let's negotiate. Oh yeah, let's get this much money off. Oh, you want full subjects, 10 business days? No problem.
Yeah. Like one of the offers we got on the Olympic Village one, we ended up with multiple offers, but
nice.
But it took finagling.
Did you end up setting an offer day?
No.
Oh.
So so basically the one of the offers, we had 2 offers, but one of the offers came from one of the groups that was one of the first people through the open house.
It's always one of those.
Like literally like 2.5 months ago.
Yep.
And so like, you know, I basically begged them to come back, and then they wrote an offer which we used to get a way better offer that ended up being the offer. But yeah, because you just mentioned it, where people are like, let's go look back at this property. That's in a lot of areas, that opportunity is going to end in the next couple months.
Yeah,
I think
so
because
too.
rates are going to come down a little bit. If I were a buyer right now, and you can look at the charts yourself, November, December, just such a good time to buy.
The last 2 years have been the best months to buy.
Money.
Yep.
No one else is buying.
Nope.
There's opportunity. And I'm a big believer, and the numbers bear it out, that January, February are great months now, because what happens, not for buyers, but for sellers.
For sellers.
Yeah, because what happens is a ton of listings drop off December 31st, and 70% of those sellers are like, I could relist it right away, or I could wait till March. And so you have that window of January to February where all of these listings have dropped off. You have all these sellers that are like, no, we'll just relist it in 2 months. And now you have no inventory on the market for 2 months. So if you're selling, jump out of the gate, like January 3rd, January 4th, rates are going to be down. That's the time to sell. If you're buying, November, December, I think is going to be kind of that window of opportunity to purchase. Your opportunity to go back again after, you know, a couple months or a few weeks, I think that's going to be increasingly more difficult. And we've been in the business long enough to know about hindsight.
Yes.
Right? Where it's like now all of a sudden all the buyers come at the same time. You're back into, you know, multiple offers and that sort of thing.
And that's outside of the traditional historic seasonal time of real estate where they're like, oh, it's dead over Christmas, it's dead over the summer, it's active spring and fall. Like things are shifting because we're just really following the economic market here. Yeah. And people's desires to leave during those times. I think given like ever since pandemic, the whole like spring market this and summer market, it's just not out the door.
It's not even a thing anymore.
Yep.
It's just, you know, things kind of work on their own sort of equation.
Yeah, I was talking to a top producer in Vancouver, and she was like, I think this is the busiest July I've had in my whole career. And she's been in the industry for over a decade. Wow. So yeah, I was like, I'm feeling it too.
Yeah. No, and you got to take it when you can get it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And she was like, I'm supposed to be on vacation right now, but all these listings came up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you'll be fine.
But I just closed 5 deals or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Reschedule your holiday. Yeah. But yeah, I think also going back to this whole trickle down effect of what this affordability, like the increasing price of things, are you feeling that on the investor side for your clients?
I think like I have like some of my larger investors or whatnot. Yeah. They're just looking for like I said, like the distressed deals, right? Cash heavy. They can make things happen, close very quickly, but being extremely selective of what they're, you know, willing to entertain or willing to take on. I think, you know, especially the clients I have that have been in the business longer than me, like they've been investing 20 years. They've seen cycles, they've seen like it this. All. They're just like, this is, you know, we're heading into that time now where we're going to start seeing things trend up again. Yeah. So we're now going to open our eyes. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes I learn from them too. Yeah. Like they will work with me because they know I'm in the trenches daily. I'm studying. Yes. I know what's up today. They don't have the time to really know that. Right. But they know from a macro level where they're like, okay, let's start getting ready.
If
let's
this happens,
get prepared.
then this is probably going to follow.
Yeah. And I'm noticing for sure that I'm having more discussions like that, okay, we're ready to kind of lean back into it.
Do you think we've seen the bottom? I've heard a few people say that they think we're in it right now. Yeah. But you're the numbers guy. Yeah. What do you think?
I think there's more pain to come in the condo market, for sure. Yeah. In certain areas.
Is anybody driven by Brentwood Concord Gardens lately?
I've been picking that place apart. So I've done a couple deals in Brentwood.
It's like 40 open houses every weekend.
Yeah. I've done my last 2 deals in Brentwood. Both of them purchase prices came below appraised value. One of them 125,000 below the lender's appraised 125,000 below the bank's appraised value. So I'm all over Brentwood right now. If you're a buyer, reach out to us. Like this is where we want to be. I
also just closed a deal in Brentwood.
This is where we want to be. Like honestly, this is where we want to be.
Yeah.
And so in areas like that, yeah, more downward pressure. And also like in the Fraser Valley. So I don't spend a lot of time Abbotsford, Chilliwack, but I was looking at some numbers, some stats, and another agent sent me an assessment sheet. And she said, why do you think that prices are coming down so much, for example, Chilliwack detached? And I look at what she sends me, and it said that the average price in 2022, I think, was like 1.1 or something. And I was like, who is spending 1.1 to live in Chilliwack? And that was my answer. I'm like, holy smokes, like this is going to come back down to earth because they
got the biggest leap during the pandemic, and so they're also going to have the biggest fall.
100%. And this isn't just a BC or a Canadian thing. So during pandemic, people moved out of core cities all over North America. They were shifting away from being right in the heart of New York and all of these different areas. And they moved to the outskirts thinking they're going to live this beautiful life with this backyard and the puppy running and frolicking. And then they realize they live in Chilliwack.
Too quiet.
They realize they live in Chilliwack.
And everything closes at 6.
Yeah, right? And so, and nothing against Chilliwack. I had an aunt that lived there. I loved visiting her back in the day. They had a chicken farm, and we used to, I have a lot of good memories in Chilliwack. Yeah. But nowhere in my thought process is 1.1 in Chilliwack. And so now people move there, and they're like, it's not that glorious. And pandemic kind of shifted. And so now they start coming back. And so now we're kind of seeing that drop. Did you hear there might be another pandemic going on right now?
Oh,
did you hear about this?
Monkeypox.
Monkeypox or something? I heard about it last night. My dad's in Africa right now.
Oh.
Apparently this is where it's coming from.
Yes, all over West and East Africa. And then one confirmed case in Sweden, I think. And so that's what prompted...
Did you say East Africa? My dad's literally in like Kenya right now.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Don't see your dad when he comes back.
Right? We're going to have to like isolate him in like saran wrap or something.
It's not quite pandemic level yet. I literally just read the press release last night.
Unbelievable.
And it's just a warning right now because it has left the country of origin. And so they're just like telling people, just be like cautious.
You're pretty in tune with this.
I mean,
what's your source? Who's
health
your source?
Science background.
Oh, right.
So
that's right. We
always
talked
curious.
about this on the podcast before, right?
Yeah. So just trying to keep up with the health science news.
Yeah. So yeah, like obviously pandemic shifted a lot of things. If we have another one, it's going to shift a lot of things, but yeah, I think, hopefully we do not, but I definitely think more pain in the condo market. I did a deal in Olympic Village earlier this year, and we bought it for, I think it was like 30 or 40 grand less than the seller paid in 2017.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of Vancouver areas, they stayed pretty stagnant prices wise while people shifted out. And that's the whole thing about real estate or any sort of investment. You think you have control over it, but you have no control.
Don't.
All it takes is the province to say, oh, we're going to implement this tax or this policy.
Yeah.
And your investment is toast, right?
Okay. So what is your experience from the buy side negotiating with sellers whose expectations are still really high? What has your experience been like? Because for me, that has been the most frustrating thing the last couple weeks. Yeah.
So I agree with you. The part that frustrates me is when the listing agent, so if I'm working on the buy side, the listing agent's like, my client's so motivated, try your offer, send me an offer. It's in the realtor remarks, motivated seller. You send an offer and they don't want to budge $5,000. And it's like, thanks, realtor.
No, or they'll go back to you and they'll be like, just so you know, my seller expectation is $50,000 over list price.
Yeah. Yeah. But after saying like motivated, so this is my thing. I don't blame the seller. You're a seller.
I don't blame them either.
I don't blame them. Like you put money into this thing. You don't want to lose a certain amount of money. This is your investment. Your heart and soul went into this. Sure, you can pick the price. So I look at the other realtor and I say, how do you have enough time to take on a listing that is unsellable?
Yeah.
And, you're kind of the message just sending to the market is that, yeah, there's an opportunity here, but there's no opportunity.
No.
Like for me personally, I just can't take on a listing like that.
Same.
Because again, solopreneur too.
That's a soul-sucking experience.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when I see that, again, I don't blame the seller. Like when I sell my properties, I want the absolute highest price I can possibly get for them.
Of course.
Like 100%. I've taken the risk, but yeah, like I think you can pick them pretty relatively quickly. Like at least it doesn't drag on
Right.
so much, right? You know right away. You send an offer, and if they counter you at full price, you can be like, okay, I know where this is going to go.
In June, it took 3 weeks to negotiate back and forth with a seller for my buyers. And at the end of the day, we couldn't come to an agreement. So we walked away and bought something else.
Really, eh?
But yeah, 3 weeks of just like fighting tooth and nail. Not really tooth and nail, actually. The gap was really big. I had all the data to back it up. I was like, here's our research. This is what the market is saying.
Sellers don't like data.
Yeah.
They hate it when you send an offer with your data.
Yeah.
They're just like, ugh.
And I tell the listing agent, I'm like, feel free to forward this entire email to your seller. Make me the bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be like, look, this is what they're saying and this is why they're saying these things.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah,
like,
no, and that's really good because that's your role, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how it has to be.
Yeah.
Is that you have to kind of send the data.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't have the relationship with the seller.
No.
But I do also understand as an agent, sometimes sellers just dictate. Like you may feel one thing, but real estate's an emotional thing. 2 weeks later, things are completely different.
It is.
And something has happened in that person's life or nothing has happened. And they just woke up, they read a news article saying rates are going to come down, prices are going to go up. And now they're like, oh, I'll just wait.
And I just told my clients that the other day. I was like, when you're emotional, no amount of data or logic is going to counter that. You're going to make an emotional decision at the end of the day. I can give you all the data, all the facts.
Yeah.
I could give you all of that until I'm black and blue.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make an impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people that all the time because as you know, like I'm pretty big on the numbers and stuff. And ultimately, the numbers are a part of the equation. Like that's the science of selling, but then there's the whole art of selling and that kind of, you know, appeals to emotions and things like that. And so the numbers, they're only a small piece. And sometimes I'll work with buyers and they will work with me because I'm into the numbers. But then when we get in that negotiation phase and they're like, like the numbers are showing $770 a square foot. This is $790. And that's where I have to step in and say, look, it's not, you can't always get it at the number because those emotions are involved. And that's true even in commercial. I do some commercial real estate too. People always say there's no emotions. There's emotions and the egos are bigger.
Oh, yeah.
The egos are huge.
Yeah.
And not just like the sellers, like these big investors or whoever they might be, but the agents. There's a massive, right?
This is why I won't touch commercial with 10 football. Okay, I'm not going to say that, but like, it's just not for me.
Yeah, I always thought that, you know, it was an emotionless side of things, but absolutely
like numbers,
absolutely not.
Deals. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like absolutely not. So
is there a lot of like, do you know who I am?
So much. So much. And when you're just kind of getting your feet wet, like you can get looked at like you're a little puke. And like, you know, I did a couple deals in the last, you know, year or so, and I'm heavy on social media.
Yeah.
Commercial agents are not really into that.
No.
And they, you know, I had an agent actually be like, why are you wasting your time doing videos? I'm not going to get into it because I realize this is a podcast. It was a really bad experience where like, it was not good. It didn't end well, but basically being like, well, you don't dial, you dance around on TikTok and Instagram or whatever. Right. And so I view it as, you know, there's kind of this segment of agents, commercial and residential, that, you know, maybe they're on their way out. They've been in the business 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
They see some like fresh young blood that are doing things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And they don't like it. I'm sure that's I know it's in every career because I used to work in a corporate job that had, you know, the same sort of things. But yeah, I think the opportunity is coming. I don't think prices are going to skyrocket, anything like that.
I don't think so
I think
either.
we're going back to like healthy 3 to 5%
Normal
gains. Yeah.
And like that's a balanced market.
Balanced market, I think, would be the perfect scenario for all agents out there.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many people out there that are like, they'll post comments on videos and stuff like that, and they'll be like, oh, you just care for prices to be up and it to be a hot market. I don't want to work with one buyer and have to write 15 offers to try and get them a property.
Yeah.
Like, that is not fun.
No.
And when prices go up, the amount of money you make more is like insignificant.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I would rather just do more deals and yeah, like
have more work-life balance.
We say that, but how are we going to actually get that balance in, right? But yeah, being able to do a little bit more and then spend energy on like personal connections versus like work.
Remind ourselves why we're doing this and why we're in this business.
So that's my struggle. You just opened up this
oh no.
I don't know my why.
What do you mean?
I don't know my why. I don't have children. I don't have like...
Okay, I don't either.
I don't have a bunch of people relying on me. So for me, it's like when I'm doing well and I'm closing deals and I'm investing and I'm doing these things, it's maybe like your Amazon shopping where like I feel good. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. And then I'm like, when I leave, who's going to benefit from any of this? So I'm having these existential, not to make this like a counseling thing, but yeah, a bit of an existential crisis about, no, it's great to acquire and to do these things. And people always say, find your why. What's your why? Do it for your why. I'm on a mission to find my why. Like that's what I need to work on.
I'm supporting this journey.
Thank you.
And this
Do you know what my why
discovery.
is? No, you know what my why is, or I got to figure it out?
Your why is you.
Okay.
Live your life.
Yeah. I will figure it out, but I've realized that that's like the differentiator.
Yeah.
And so, I think if you have like a strong why, you hear it.
Yeah.
No matter what it is you do, you just keep charging forward.
And just to quickly touch on that, like we did some professional coaching last year, and we do it every year as a team, just for like team building and just like pushing ourselves forward.
Yeah.
And she was like, find your why. No matter how superficial it is, you need to find your why. And she even did the example of like, you want to buy a yacht.
Yeah.
Like that's your why.
It's okay for that. It doesn't have to be something noble.
And it can be like, I only ever want to fly first class for the rest of my life. And if that's my why, then I will be unabashedly unapologetic about it.
Good enough.
But
that's good. Yeah. Actually, that's really helpful.
So you can start there. You can start really surface, superficial, and seem a little frivolous. But at the end of the day, you're doing something for you that you enjoy. So why is that not enough of a reason?
That's helpful because I'm looking for like this deep, profound why. Like I want to change the world, or I got to leave the...
Like I don't have kids. I don't have a family. I'm like...
Yeah.
I feel like my excuses aren't valid.
I want 3 or 4 dogs on like acreage somewhere, and I just want to live that life or whatever.
Yeah, like I want to buy land with a go-kart track. Like what?
That sounds really
something
good.
Like that.
You big go-kart person, or
used to be?
Really?
Yeah.
Like at Playland and stuff like that, or
no? Back when I grew up in the Philippines, like there was I don't want to call it semi-professional, but it was just like an intense like go-kart experience, and I liked doing it, and I was pretty good at it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
There used to be a track. I don't know if it's still there in Richmond.
I think it's still there.
It's still there, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good track.
There used to be one out in Chilliwack.
Oh, really? Yeah. Too expensive out there.
That might influence the housing prices.
Yeah, the inflation. I don't think I can deal with the prices out there.
But for closing, I wanted to pick your brain and ask you.
Sure.
When your clients are facing this logic versus emotion dilemma, do you have like a cue that you ask them to try and bring things into perspective? Like, for example, mine is, okay, so if we found out that this sold for $5,000 over what we have on paper right now, would you lose sleep over it?
Yeah.
Do you use that, or do you have something else?
I use something similar. So when I'll often get asked, and if we are in like a multiple offer scenario or something like that, I can show them what I believe the market says it's worth, right? So I'll say, look, the market says it's worth this. We have someone else on the table right now that's writing. We do not know their situation. We don't know if they've already sold. We don't know if they need to be in this area for school zone purposes, whatever it is. So what I can tell you is very likely the other agent is showing the same comps and probably coming to that same number. But then there's that X factor, which we don't know. And then I'll say, this is what I believe it's worth. Now, at what price do you want to write this offer where if you wake up the next morning and you find out you didn't get it, you're going to be okay with it? So similar like what you said, it's almost the same thing. That what is that number? If it's outlandish and if it's way over asking, I'm going to tell you it is. I'm going to show you what else you can get for that money. And then you're going to tell me, yes, I still want you to write that number. And so, because like you said, I don't want clients, and I've had it happen. They wake up the next day, they lose a home by 2,000 and they're like, I should have went 5,000 over.
Yeah.
So I always do the whole, when you wake up tomorrow, don't worry, I'm going to make sure you don't pay a ridiculous amount for this thing. But, this is where we think it's worth. What's it worth to you? And I'm either going to support you in that, or I'm going to be able to show you some other things that you can probably do better for. How about yourself?
Yeah, I do the would you lose sleep if we lost by this much, or if we found out that it's sold at this number. And I've had clients who have been like, nope. And then the next day they're like, Michelle, I didn't sleep last night. And then I'm like calling the agent. I'm like, did you guys accept that other offer?
Oh, that's painful.
That didn't happen. Thank God.
Okay.
We ended up writing on it again. But I feel like that kind of shifts them back into the perspective of like getting outside their head.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, at the end of the day, like when you're coming home, are you going to be happy about the fact that you're here?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be upset that you didn't get a deal?
Right. Yeah. And I tell people too, like, especially if their plan is like a 7 or 10 year hold.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are not going to remember the exact price you paid for this property.
Yeah.
Give or take the 10 or 15 grand.
Yeah.
You're, 8 years from now, you're going to be like, was it 1.51 or 1.53?
Yeah.
It's going to be in that ballpark.
Yeah.
So today we're stressing over I don't want to say a few grand. I realize things are tight for everyone and significant amount of money.
Yeah.
But in the market for that amount of time, it's really not.
Yeah.
But probably the hardest question to answer, right? Like what should I pay for this?
Yeah. And then I also like to hit them with the mortgage breakdown calculation for the two different prices that they're going back and forth about. So then they can like physically see it. And then they'll be like, oh.
Give them comfort.
Yeah.
That this is something I should do.
Mix of emotion, mix of logic.
Oh, yeah.
And then they feel a little bit more grounded.
They feel prepared.
But yeah.
How are we doing for time?
I think we're
okay. Boom, boom. Well, there you have it.
Thank you for tuning in. It was a little bit of a roller coaster. I feel like I've been strapped onto an emotional roller coaster for the last 2.5 weeks.
Do you feel calmer and better though? Like you kind of got some of it out?
I mean, talking about it helps. My therapist has had the brunt of it, but thank God for her.
Refer me.
Yeah. But tune in for the next episode. It should be a fun one.
Awesome. Thanks again. Cheers.